Dutch. Hindi is, I'd say, Arabic. Well, Urdu comes from Arabic. All of Urdu comes from Arabic.
Yes.
It's a derivative of Arabic, and a bit of Pashtun, and a little bit of Farsi. But it's accepted that Hindi is kind of 60% Sanskrit, 40% Arabic.
I can live with that.
As long as we can all live with it. And you know what GAP stands for, don't you?
No, I don't. Oh, just this one?
Yeah,
No,
do you know
no,
what
I
GAP stands for? Nobody know what GAP stands for.
Generally accepted principles.
That's accounting. That's GAAP. You know, there are 3 types of accountants in the world. Those that can count and those that can't. So GAP is Great American Public.
Okay.
Not gay and proud.
That's what I thought.
That's what they told me in middle school.
No, they
Yeah,
do say
I
that.
said
They
it
do,
in
they do say no, it's
No,
the
you're
Great
right.
American Public. Not that there's anything wrong with any of them, but it's Great American Public. The public that voted for Trump can never be considered great, in my humble opinion. Right, so everybody good, the pace is good, we've all had a break. I'm going to try and finish in an hour, and then I'll be around though to do quick one-to-ones, not big one-to-ones, quick 20-minute one-to-ones, because I actually suffer from ADHD, as you probably gathered. So, sorry?
Us too.
Yeah, you suffer from ADHD as well. So I need to just, if you want to talk to me, please do, but if you're going to take 10 minutes to ask me a 3-minute question, it's so good. So, channels, customer relationships. Now, in your business model, your customer relationships will change from acquisition to retention and then to upselling. Now, if you do need to employ a salesperson, it becomes very, 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 very expensive. So if you think about a salesperson, let's keep the maths easy, it's going to be about $102,000 a year, 104, which is $2,000 a week. Just think about the revenue they've got to earn to justify that. And there's no such thing as a great unemployed salesperson. So you will really struggle to get a great salesperson. All right? So think about your business model in terms of all of that stuff and your customer relationship. It's very hard to be a niche brand or design and have a customer relationship and a direct channel and not have really good salespeople who can effectively sell the product. So again, you would probably need, Jason, in your business model, you would probably need a salesperson to actually go out to departments. And it might be that your strategy becomes to just, rather than go for a geographical domination, which is right, we're going to start at UNB, then we're going to start at UPI, then we're going to do that. Your strategy may well be, we're going to dominate chemistry.
Which is exactly our strategy.
I'm thinking like a chemistry professor. The chemistry is there. So, but that I think is a far better strategy because it's much more, you'll have much more credence with that strategy. And then you design it, you get it through, it becomes easier for the salesperson to then get familiar in one thing and we really know this space well. And then it makes other people want it. Because other people would say, well, our university uses this software, but as a chemistry teacher, I really want to use this one because it's designed with tools for chemistry and that one for history, it just doesn't work. Okay. Good. So think about that. Revenue streams. People always get confused about revenue streams. So, revenue streams are asset, which is I have something I want to sell to you, that is an asset revenue stream. Usage. The more you use, the more you pay. So some of you will have that as a business, as a revenue stream. Subscription, you pay a monthly fee. Easy enough. Lending, you'll understand what lending means. Licensing, IP could be borrowed. Franchise model would be considered a licensing. Brokerage fees, where you sell something for 100, but you take 3 or 4%. You could be, so you might start off selling, I think you might be a brokerage, that might be your business model brokerage. So that would be brokerage fees where you do X and you take a cut of whatever value you generate. And then of course there's the advertising revenue stream where you have so many hits on your website that you charge money for advertising. Who has advertising on their business model? Okay, that's going to be really difficult. Really difficult. Advertising is notoriously difficult as a revenue stream until you get huge numbers of people. The volume required if you're looking to raise money and your pitch to investors is advertising as a revenue stream, you're going to struggle.
What if they had like 400,000 downloads?
Then they wouldn't struggle.
Okay, they have that.
No good.
Well, we did have. Well, it's just that's the market. We've got two segments. The mass market on Google Play Store, games for the mass market Google Play Store. The other one is the iPhone app market, the iPhone store, and it's just got to be free game with advertising or a little bit. Well, we're thinking.
Sorry, that's different. If it's embedded in a game.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a different one.
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies.
So, but we're not sure if it's going to be 100% advertising or if we're going to allow people to pay for things, and maybe as in some models can be you have coins, you can pay for upgrades and stuff, but on the other hand you can watch ads instead of paying, because I'm somebody I don't like to pay, so I watch millions of ads. I'm happy. And other people don't like ads at all, so we're not quite sure. But it's got to be a completely free game.
Yeah, there's a paradox, isn't it? That I don't want the people who would rather watch adverts than pay.
That's just
But the
what
only
they're
people
all-
I can reach are the people who want to watch adverts and want to pay.
Yeah, well, we've been
Yeah.
doing, we have been doing the paid-for games, and certainly I've noticed there's a difference between Android users and Apple users. So on the Android, it's virtually impossible to get anybody to part with their money, really. And on Apple, I think people are happier to spend a little bit of money, but certainly gaming, it's difficult.
Yeah, I find free games really annoying.
Yes, but I think,
I
yes, I
mean,
agree with
yeah.
you, I'm the same, but I think it's,
The majority of people though.
it
I
used
don't
to
think-
be
yeah.
like that in the olden days, everybody used to pay for things, but nowadays I think the kids, they just want, so active, they just want to play, and if you get your ads in, I mean, this is our theory, this is something, a hypothesis that we're going to be testing. As long as the ads are quite, what they call, not too intrusive, I think people are quite happy to put up with them. That's the hypothesis.
Interesting.
So it's a
I mean,
difficult one.
400,000 does give you.
We don't at the moment have 400,000. We did a previous game. We had 400,000 free
What was
download. It was a VR game actually. It was for the when the cardboard first came out in 2016. We had very quickly got over 400,000 downloads on that just for the free version. But it was quite unique at the time. So I think it's easier, but we'll be.
See, the other thing about VR is, by definition, you're targeting
That's niche.
high-end. But
Yeah,
advertisers would love to advertise to somebody going to.
You can't advertise in VR. You see, that's why we've got the mass market. We're going to go, initially we were just VR, but VR is too niche, really. So we're going to spread out, and we're going to have two segments. So the game is going to be optimized for VR, and that's more like a console, and people want to just pay, and you can't advertise in VR yet. It's too intrusive. And then on the other hand, we've got the mass market on the phones.
You're from the northeast? In England or?
Northwest.
Northwest, where about Liverpool, Manchester?
Cheshire.
Cheshire, really? Wow. Your accent, I thought it was northeast.
Well, we've not been in England for a while, so
Well, the way you said wild, that was very northeast. Newcastle.
Newcastle. I got the okay from her.
You see that was Newcastle.
I know one of my best friends is from Newcastle.
I think that's really mind-blowing about England is, compared to Canada, how small England is, and how after just half an hour's drive, accents change so much. The Canadians are like, whoa, but you're only about 20 minutes away from each other. Liverpool, Manchester, 35-minute drive, totally different accents. It's
Geordies.
Sorry?
The Geordies.
The Geordies. So Geordies are from north of the River Tyne, and south of the River Tyne are Mackhams. And there's this big, so if you're from Sunderland, you're a Mackham. If you're from Newcastle, you're a Geordie. And there's a river that runs through it, and the rivalry is intense. It's like Newcastle and Sunderland football matches. Okay, so, thank you for that. Revenue streams. Everybody clear about revenue streams? Everybody clear. What's your revenue stream?
Revenue streams
So it would be lending for transaction services and service fees.
What's your key resources? What does E equals MC squared stand for? Just click on you. You're like-
No, I think it's like that. Yeah. We just need to maximize that. So the key resources. What do you mean? What do you mean by key resources?
Oh, so there is something you can learn. Maybe you should turn up on time. Did you like the way I? Would you? I was waiting for each of you to say you haven't done that yet. So key resources are, what is the key resources you need in your business to do the magic that you do? In startup world, we get carried away with how awesome things are, but effectively, human production hasn't changed since the very first days, which is you get things, you acquire things, they go to a factory, things happen to it in a factory, and what comes out of the factory is a lot more valuable than what went into the factory. Okay? I use the same analysis for startups. So chefs, restaurants are all saying, what are the quality of the ingredients? How expensive is it to get those ingredients? There could be data bits, there could be all kinds of stuff that you put into this magic process, which could be an algorithm. You do something to it, could be building a computer game, could be helping you navigate how to sell cross-border, could be a myriad of very complicated things, but then out comes something far more valuable than what comes in. And the way you make money is what went in was worth 100, what comes out is worth 500, and what you did to it only cost you 100. People get very carried away with what they do. Making money, the process of making money has stayed the same. And people get really carried away. So when you start thinking like that, so the thing is, in your factory, what is the magic that is happening? What are the key resources needed? Is it physical? As in physical, well, that means building. Is it you have to have a building, you have to have a physical site, you have to have big offices. Is it intellectual, where we actually solve complicated problems, like consultancy business? Is it human, where you just need lots and lots of people, like McDonald's would be the key resources is human rather than intellectual? Or is it financial, whereas your key resource would be financial, you just need bucket loads of cash to be able to do what you do? Because you could be brilliant and you could have everything sorted, but if you only got $100,000 to play with, that's really heavy growth. Whereas if you had 100 million, you can do some really exciting stuff. Okay? That is key resources. And then what actually happens, so key resources is what you need in a factory, key activity is what you actually do in a factory. Do you produce something? So gaming is easy, you're in the production business. You actually produce things. You're in the production business. You produce tests that measure X. So you take stuff, you do something which is intellectual, and out comes you've problem solved. Right? So production, you produce something and you problem solve. So are you problem solving? You would be a platform or a network adjacent. So you're providing a platform to enable other things. So it's very important that you are a platform as well. You're in the farmers markets. You're a platform.
Are we not problem solving? I mean, it's a platform to solve that problem. So
I'd say you're more of a platform than problem solving, I would say, and challenge me on this. This is, I don't know your business, I've only heard about this morning, because I think the problem is solved by being on the platform.
yeah.
So if you go on the platform, the problem is solved, whereas problem solving would be, sorry? Consulting,
Coaching kind of.
yeah, more algorithm, which is based at, you're trying to take loads of data and it helps analytics, machine learning, it helps predict things, it helps tell you things that you can't work out yourself, etc. Scheduling will be problem solving software. Are we all good on that? Key activities is done, key partnerships. So one of the things you've always got to look at with key partnerships, and again, with a lot of conversations like Eureka, sorry, I don't know your name.
Javin.
Javin,
Javin.
Javin.
O-N, but pronounced like an I.
Oh, so why not use an I?
My parents misspelled it.
Is that right?
I don't know.
Because my surname is supposed to be Walia, and my parents misspelled it, and it was a B, and that's the surname. How'd you get the surname wrong? It's literally been in the family for generations. But they still manage to spell it wrong. So, the reason why I'd love you to go with someone like Blue Nose Marathon, the reason, Jason, why I want you to find a way to incentivise lecturers to do this, is the reason why you need to find partners is to really reduce your risk by optimising theirs, the assets that they have. So you would choose partnerships to optimise and get your product out there. Reduction of risk, so you might channel with an insurance partner for certain things. You might channel with an accountancy firm to reduce the risk and give you access to reach in terms of the tax complexities and other registration issues. And it gives you access to a huge number of resources. But if you suddenly spoke at a conference where all the chemistry professors and you talked about how marking has become easier using this tool, and we have this switch, and we have this, and students, once they use over 20 of your students use this, then this gets triggered and this, all these kind of things. How do you get out there? Ultimately, all of this feeds into cost structure. What is your cost structure? Your cost structure has to support all of the building blocks. So you can't say, I'm going to be the finest restaurant. So Tim Hortons always amazes me. I always thought for years, when I first moved to Canada, Tim Hortons was drug laundry operation. No, seriously, how is it so cheap? How is it so frigging cheap? When you think about what you can buy in Tim Hortons, like the Timbits, it's really cheap. It's amazingly cheap. But what they have is a business model where everything is targeted around a cost structure. Dell did this. Dell's proposition was cost structure. They were able to compete at such a low price at the time because they really, really crisply looked at their cost structure.
Tim Hortons compromised quality though over that.
Yeah, fine.
Their food's terrible now.
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't give a shit. You paid $2 for something. What the fuck did you expect?
I guess you'd be able to finish a meal without throwing it out, but
No. But if you're that way inclined, which I am, I wouldn't go to Tim Hortons for anything. Yeah, but if I'm that way inclined, well, pay $5 and go for something higher end. I have paid a lot of money for bagels, and I paid 50 cents or 60 cents for a bagel. I expect there to be a difference. The only time I get pissed off is when if I can't tell the difference between a 60-cent bagel and a $5 bagel. That's when I get pissed off. Last week I was in Winnipeg. I was doing some work in Winnipeg, and I just wanted oatmeal for breakfast, and it was like $17 for oatmeal. The oatmeal was good, but it wasn't $17 good, so I was pissed off that I paid $17 for an oatmeal that wasn't 6 times better than the oatmeal at Tim Hortons. So, yeah. I always remember Ryanair. Ryanair is this cheap cost airline in England, and Michael O'Leary runs it. And once on live TV, he's being interviewed and a customer said, "You should be ashamed, your service is terrible." And Michael O'Leary, live on TV, said, "How much did you pay for your ticket, sir?" And he said, £2. He said, "What the fuck do you expect?" And what I loved about that was he owned it. He didn't, "Well, I'm sorry, sir, You've paid £2 to get a metal object to get you from one country to another country, and you're complaining about service. You paid £2. You know, I don't like people who complain about. Now, the reason I don't like low-cost products is I have my experience and Air Canada's experience when you talk to people is people who pay low-cost stuff are the biggest complainers. So when you do sell low-cost things, you do need to have customer service staff. Whereas people who pay more expect more, but then you have the resources to invest in customer care, etc., etc. When I phone Air Canada, they recognise my phone number. The phone isn't answered with, "Hello, can I take your name?" It's, "Hello, Mr." It's a personalised phone number. "Hello, Mr. Valiant. How can we help you today?" "Oh, I see your." They already know my details. "I see your flight. Is everything okay, sir?" But I expect that. I paid more for my flight, so you know, whatever. I expect that service. Once a flight was running late, and I landed late. I had to get from one terminal of Heathrow to another in your airport, Toronto Pearson. And somebody met me, took me downstairs, and they drove me in a BMW with a massage chair. A BMW with a massage chair, and they drove me from one end of the showroom to the other. Yeah, it was brilliant, but do you know what? I paid for that show. They weren't doing it out of charity, they're a business. They've worked out, yeah, we make lots of money out of this guy, let's invest in customer care with him. Whereas if they gave the same service to someone who flies once a year to it, or once a year, buys the cheapest possible flight ticket, if I saw them getting the same level of service as me, I would be pissed off.
I think people who pay also, they don't like complaining because you don't want to admit that you've messed up really. I've come across that quite often. So you've gone for a meal.
Spam.
We should.
Last time I answered that, I called the guy back 176 times. They've never called me.
You need to Google Pixel. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you've gone for a meal. It's a lavish meal. You've paid a lot of money, and you just don't want to admit that you've messed up.
Oh, I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I just keep my head down. Don't
I-
go back.
Whenever I join a gym or anything, I actually ask, what percent of your clients are Jewish? Because I love going to gyms that Jewish people frequent. Jewish people tend to be culturally very, very good at complaining. Very good at complaining. They just demand excellent service, and I love that. So superstores, if you find a superstore in England, in a Jewish area, they will not have out of stocks, and they will just have the best products and everything, because they know that their clientele will absolutely complain. It's a cultural thing. They'll pay for stuff, but they expect the best. So if you're going to join a gym or anything like that, just ask, what percentage of your clientele are Jewish? Because if it's a high percentage, it's going to be sweet. Whereas if it's all Canadians, it's going to be shit. You've not got any towels. Oh, sorry that I asked for a towel. Wait till Canadians take over, then we'll be sorry.
It's actually funny, my parents one time noticed that I apologize a lot more since I do it in Canada.
Yeah, we just do. We're Canadians, we're sorry. It's true, culturally it is true. The stereotypes exist because they're true. So, yeah, I would never, Canadians will put up with so much bad. You even tip when you get bad service. So I will tip 0. And then they say, what's something wrong with the service? I'm like, no shit.
It's compulsory.
Exactly, it's not.
I hate that.
So I'm doing this event at the hotel, and they have to put a gratuity on. Like, what? Well, it's not gratuity then. It's the price of the. Gratuity is supposed to be discretionary. You give me a good service, I'll tip you. You give me a shit service.
There's rules. I think it's 15% or something. It's going up 20%. It's not even 10%.
English is 10.
Well, it is 15 or 20.
No, but in North America, they do this thing where you tip people in bars because they freeze the glasses for you. They make the glasses really cold, and the beer is served nice and cool and chilled. In England, we don't do any of that,
No.
and we
don't care.
don't expect service either. I mean, I just love. We're just
Cheap.
miserable.
You just want to be there, don't you?
Yeah, and we as a culture, English people are just miserable, and that's okay. So we find this customer service thing really weird.
Oh, it doesn't work in England.
This whole
Have a
idea.
good day. Oh, God.
Yeah, like Disney stores. Welcome to our store. Oh.
And the way of greeting. Here, everybody's like, how are you? God, in English, like, you alright? Yeah. Alright.
Yeah, I'm alright. What are you going to do about it?
I'm alright.
No, seriously. Hey, how you doing? Doing great. How you doing?
Well, you can't say that in England.
It's because of your weather.
Oh yeah, because Canadians have so much enjoy about weather. And you're in Kerala.
I think it's too many
God,
people.
it's always boiling there.
Well, it has so much terrible weather that it appreciates you being just alive. So maybe it's just not in between.
I think the weather is great here.
In Canada.
I reckon it's a heck of a lot better than in England, yeah.
There
It's
you go.
always bright.
Okay, cost structure.
It's miserable. Up in Manchester, it's just always grey and miserable, and we never see the sunshine.
Like, I gotta
My
put out there.
experience.
When I was working in England, there was my colleague. She was British. She said that we have a saying here: we have all 4 seasons in a single day.
They said about Vancouver. That saying came from Vancouver, literally.
It doesn't
you don't
snow
get,
there.
No, you don't. In Vancouver it does. They'll get about 2 inches, and then it's bedlam. It's really weird. If you're ever in Vancouver when it snows, the news will not stop talking about it. Seriously. I'm serious. Any of you lived in Vancouver? It's just weird. They get a little bit of flurry of snowflakes. Oh, there's gridlock at the traffic. And you can't believe we're in the same country. So anyway, we'll move on. So cost structure. So, that was the business model. So before we do that, I want all of you to have written down the blocks that you think make sense. So I need you all to just write down. I'm not going to ask you about it and everything, but just do it for yourself. So which customer segment are you going for? What is your value proposition? What is the channel? In terms of customer relationships, what do you have to invest in terms of acquiring customers? What kind of salespeople would you have? Will you have salespeople, or you might not have them? So if you do an online for mums thing, it might be that you go from acquisition, then you've got to think about, well, if the cost of acquisition is very high, which for some businesses it is, you've got to think about, well, what else can we sell for them? So one of the things, have you heard of ASICS, the brand ASICS? So ASICS would be a great brand for you to partner with, because ASICS only really do stuff for runners. ASICS is my favourite brand. So I actually went to, when I was in Japan, I bought ASICS. But in ASICS, it's really weird. Everyone is tiny in Japan. So I'm a triple XL or something in Japan. Here, I'm a large. Oh, be careful, by the way. I was in Starbucks, and I just heard that the police was, there was a tiny psychic who did a hold-up in Tim Hortons. I don't know where the nearest Tim Hortons here. Starbucks was telling me. So there's this tiny sidekick, and the police are looking for him. So there's a small, medium, and large. So I want you to think about all of that, and it's got to flow. It's all got to flow. So if you do have customer relationships and you need to do retention to upselling, so retention is the big issue for a lot of businesses. It won't be for you, although your issue will be every year the students change. So every year you'll start the same process again. And then you've got to upsell, well, what else can we sell them? One of the things that might become incredibly valuable to you is, especially if you just go down the chemistry, it's actually quite genius. If you go down the chemistry thing, then your big play 4, 5, 6 years from now becomes data points and data plays. You end up becoming the LinkedIn of chemistry students, and that could be incredibly valuable. I don't know if you've thought of the data play, but that is a 5, 6 year, once you've got something like 10,000 data points.
So the data play that we've thought of is from an analytics perspective in terms of providing streamlined solutions to students based on the history that we know about, right? So we know that students who struggled in this area previously have benefited in this way, so we just deliver that content to you.
You could do all of that as well, but I love the idea that you could find out who the largest employers of chemistry students is. And then you could go to them and say, how would you feel about messaging and having building up a direct relationship now and offering internships, etc., to the most promising, the brightest students. We have data on diversity. If your workforce is looking particularly pale, male and stale, we can diversify that. You have lots and lots of data points. If there are conferences around chemistry in a particular region, then you can do things like, one of the things that a lot of football clubs do in England is, if they can't sell any tickets, like Newcastle or Sunderland, what they can do is just go to the local schools 2 days, 3 days before the match and say, we'd like the students to come. There might be a big chemistry conference on in Birmingham in England, and actually they've got 50% capacity. Would it be great to go to your database and say, oh, we actually know all the chemistry students in the Birmingham area, we could do a blast and get them all to attend. There's a data play there. There's a big data play there. But that data play only works if it's real value added. So if it's just chemistry students, that's really valuable. If it's students, that's mass. So one of the businesses, have you met Colin Deacon? Have some of you met Colin Deacon?
Yeah.
So Colin Deacon's going to be here on Monday night. So Colin and I go way back. Now Senator Deacon.
And Tuesday, he'll be here Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Here?
Yeah.
Beautiful, because he finishes there at 2.
And then,
Beautiful. So Senator Deacon, he started a business called Blue Light Analytics. Blue Light Analytics, I'm still on the board of Blue Light, and I was the second investor in Blue Light. Well, excluding him, then another guy came on, and then I was the second investor. And it's been great, and then we've discovered a huge data play because it's niche. Data plays don't actually work if they're everyone.
But every student on our platform will be enrolled in a specific course. So we're going to know if they're chemistry or they're physics or they're biology or whoever they are.
And that's very valuable. That's very, very valuable. Because then you can do targeted, specific, niche, and employers with the, and if you stick to STEM, if you just stick to STEM.
That's our company, STEM. So,
Is it?
Mhm.
So if you stick to STEM,
Yeah.
then you can do STEM employment, STEM recruitment, STEM teaching, STEM this, STEM that. I mean, it's a really, really good data play. So don't underestimate. And what happens is sometimes, so there's this thing about with company growth, there's this trade-off sometimes between revenue generation and value creation.
Right.
And sometimes they are mutually inclusive, but sometimes they're exclusive. So sometimes you might choose, you know what, I'm going to forego revenue here because the value creation in terms of the data points is much bigger than the revenue I get.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think you gotta. I like the way of being micro focused. All right, so hopefully you've done all of that. So all of you have done that and you've come up with something. Now, one of the things you should do is check over the next 14 weeks while you're on this fantastic program, the PAT show, the PAT squared. PAT squared. Because in England, there should be another one. We've actually got 3 Patricks at. In the mentor camp, there's 3 Patricks.
Oh yeah.
You, Keith, and Hankinson.
Yeah.
So it'd be the Patrick Hat-trick.
Ah, there you go. Thinking about that.
I can do. Did you like that? Patrick Hat-trick. What do you call 3 Patricks? Patrick. Right. That didn't work. It's good to test your material every now and then, isn't it?
Where were you going with that? The Patch show? Oh, just to check in and everything.
Just
Okay.
Right, it's been
It's
like
12
that today.
weeks too. I think we're 12 weeks.
No, I was told it's 14.
Is it 14? Okay.
Could you work out where it's 14 or not? Because I'm confused now.
December 5th. Yeah. Yeah.
Because whatever it is, Javin wants it to go faster.
Yeah, if it's 12, make it 11.
Yeah.
There we go.
So.
Can you call dibs on the first meeting with you after this?
Oh.
Oh.
Yes.
Who wants to see me last? Because you can't see me. That will be for Mr. Ferrara to decide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dibs.
Okay, but 10 minutes, just 10 minutes,
Yeah.
10-minute meetings. So don't make the most of the time, because I'm happy to see all of you, but 10 minutes max. So what do you want to get out of it? Because most people that do a mentoring session is they talk. Happy to listen, because it's less work for me. Really is. But there's no value, because when I talk, I'm not learning anything new. Great. So we've done all that. Then we come on to, wow, it's 3 o'clock. You know the best time to see a dentist, don't you? Best time to see a dentist?
2:30.
2:30?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Really? Seriously? You've not heard that one? Where have you lived? Canadians, where have you lived? Right. So who's your customer? So I always like to ask people, who are your first 10 customers? And then who are the next 30? Like literally who are they? Don't just say, well, they're mothers. No, who are they? How are you going to reach them? So if you can't tell me these are the names of them, there's Suzanne, there's Jane, there's Juliet. Fine, I don't need that level of detail, but how are you going to get your first 10 customers? What is your plan? Not your strategy. Yeah, the word strategy is like teenage sex. Everybody thinks it's happening when it's not. And everyone's like obsessing about, oh, this is our strategy.
The ones that are doing it aren't doing it well, kind of.
I wouldn't know, mate. I don't know what.
I meant with the strategy.
Patrick, can I not have 10 minutes with this guy? If I am, I want somebody.
That might be in the charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or otherwise known as illegal. So I want to know how you get them. I mean, one of the things we'll do when we talk about the pitching thing on October the 17th, I will actually talk about strategy for startups. One of the most important things for startups when you're doing strategy is to actually do the model I use. And we'll just do that very quickly now because we've got time. I promise you we'll finish well out of time. We were scheduled to finish at 5, but we'll finish well before that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right?
Great.
Without anybody feeling that they've missed out on any learning whatsoever. Does everybody know what Venn diagrams are?
Yeah.
You call them something else here, don't you? What's that? Pat, are you texting me? Who's Feral Bob? Is there a Feral Bob in here? On Twitter?
Bob. English Bob.
Yeah, what is it?
Bob Shan though.
Yeah.
Feral
Feral?
Bob? He's now following me on Twitter.
Like Ellen Farrell?
No, Feral Bob. It's just an
Oh.
That's him, yeah.
That's
The
his
NRC
The
Bob.
English, yeah.
I'm trying to teach all these distractions. I know I could just switch it off, but that's not the point. Right, so. Always want to do Mickey Mouse when I do that. Mickey Mouse with the ears. And also Twitter, you know the Twitter logo, if you see the Twitter logo sideways, it always looks like Batman. Have you noticed that? I do it. Just look at the Twitter logo sideways. It's Batman. It is. You can do that now. It is, no.
He's looking up.
Which way? No, I don't see that.
You don't see it?
Yeah, not seeing it now.
It's all perception.
It is Batman. Oh my god, it's so Batman. Look, with the ears.
Maybe I don't have the watch, so maybe it's on the watch. Yeah.
This is a bonus. This wasn't in the, you know, what Patrick didn't make it. So, strategy to me is identifying and defending your most valuable competitive position. Your most valuable competitive position is where your opportunities meet your capabilities, make your values. Meet your values. So it's X. So strategy to me is about identifying X and being able to defend it. Sim Steakhouse is calling me now. From across the road. I'm here. Why is it when I'm here, the only people interrupting me are people from Charlottetown?
Welcome. Yeah.
Right, so, the problem for most startups, you have way too many opportunities. Way too many opportunities. So one of the things I encourage people to do is to rank them. There's a whole different presentation on this, it takes about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We haven't got time for that now, but we'll do this during the pitch thing. This really helps you with your pitch. Think about all your opportunities, rank them, and it could be where you have a unique monopoly position, it could be distance to cash, it could be ease of access, it could be an affinity, whatever it is. So rank all your opportunities. So again, I'm picking on Jason just because you gave, I've got a real clear sense of the business. I'm sorry if anybody feels I'm ignoring them. It's just I've just managed to get a really good sense of Jason's business, your business, and your business. So I'm picking on these examples just because I've got a much better sense. Chatbot. This is a really big problem for you. Way too many opportunities. So you've got to come up with if your proposition is we do chat boxes, that's a terrible pitch because you're not excluding anyone. You have to know who you're excluding to have a really good strategy. So if somebody says, will you do my chat box for me? I'd love it if you said, no, because we really focus on this, but I'll tell you who would be able to do it. So own a niche. So opportunities. What are the opportunities? So rank all your opportunities. Then think about the capabilities you currently have. What are your capabilities? So your capabilities, Jevon, are around some IP around, you've developed some clever algorithms where you can analyze stuff. Jason, you've got some clever capabilities that you've built up around being a chemistry professor and learning firsthand what the issues are. You've built up some capabilities around understanding how chatbots work, how to commercialize, which websites need them, etc., etc. You've built some capabilities around understanding the marketplace and the dynamics, etc. Yeah? Does it all make sense to everybody? Great. Then, the reason why people talk about burnout and they talk about mental health, and there's a big thing about mental health. Founders, I don't know if you're doing a session on it or.
Not in the accelerator, but there is stuff that comes up.
Okay. One of the things I do is I talk a lot about values. And I'm not qualified to talk about mental health, although it doesn't seem to stop anybody else. It's a medical thing, and it needs proper attention and proper respect, and I don't think it helps when people let me talk about it. Socrates wrote this. I was told when I did philosophy at university there were two great books to read that have all human knowledge, two books. One is the Bible. So when I heard that, I was like, I hope the second book is really good, because as a devout atheist, I'm going to apply half of the human knowledge. And then the second, that joke does not work in Arkansas. That does not work in Arkansas. Do not say that in Arkansas. But the second book was Socrates, the Republic. And the Republic is all about what is a just society. And one of the things that Socrates talked about thousands and thousands of years ago, a just person A just society is a society in balance, and a person in balance, a person whose values are aligned with their actions. And every time we do something which goes against our values, we are misaligned. And people talk about this a lot. People talk about this with branding. Don't say we're this and this and this if it's not aligned to what the company really is about. Nobody believes McDonald's when they turn around and say all the stuff they do for animal welfare, although it is actually true. But people don't care about the truth, as we know in a lot of political discourse this morning, what they care about what they believe. Suddenly beliefs are more important than, I believe climate change isn't real, is somehow trumping thousands of pieces of data and scientific research. Values are really, really, really important. Really important. And we get ill, we get mental distress when we are doing stuff which don't align with our values. You will suffer from burnout if you're doing stuff that you don't believe in. Not believing in that the world is better, but you're doing things, you're creating culture that you don't agree with. So values is really important. This is about strategy, and this is from the University of Virginia, Darden School, not something that we've just made up. So people are focused on this, but the values there are, you know, who are the most important people in your business? Is it the employees? Is it the customers? Is it shareholders? Is it the environment? And don't say all of them. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit answer. You have to pick one, which is the most important. And you should do that when things are calm. Because when a crisis, so I always have this, I have a very clear structure in my mind about the most important stuff. When I'm choosing what I do with my time, I have an extraordinarily clear set of priorities about who I choose to spend time with and who I don't. And people are always amazed at how clear I am about, you know, no, don't want to spend time. No. I was asked to speak at an event last week, said no. I could have, I should have, whatever, but I actually realised I haven't seen my cat for ages, and I'd rather spend time with the cat than speaking at an event. I would have got more pleasure, and it's good for my health. So do not do anything which doesn't. You talked at the very beginning about you working in the field, which made you question your values and made you question the values of others. I get that. You will experience burnout, you will have a whole heap of problems if you are doing stuff that your values do not align with. Okay? So what are the values for you as a business? So I run a fund management business in the UK, and our number one stakeholder, whenever there's an issue, the number one thing we do is we think about the shareholders. Number one. We don't care about the employees, we don't care about customers, we care about shareholders. Is this a good action for shareholders? Yes, no, boom, end of. I'm chairman of a business in Halifax called 4D, which does this microscopes for analysing underwater samples. Our number one value is, the number one most important stakeholder is the environment. We will not sell products to any company or to anybody that will not use the products to benefit the environment. We just won't do that. That is our brand. Number two is our employees. Number three, our customers. Employees come ahead of customers because we are trying to create an IP-rich, creative, innovative culture. You can't do that if every time there's an argument with an employee, you back with a customer, you back the customer rather than the employee. You can't motivate your staff by never siding with them. This idea that the customer's always right is bullshit. It depends how much money the customer's paying. The customer is not always right. Actually, they rarely are. Now, the customer's always right works when you're selling mass. You know, back to your business model, when it's mass and you have to sell everybody, that's when the customer's always right. Okay? In a lot of businesses, in a lot of your businesses, customers will not always be right. So it's important that you decide beforehand who you are back. Many companies do say customers come first, then employees, and then you see employees delivering shit service, because employees know that I'm not going to get backed. Richard Branson started this idea of really kind of valuing employees ahead of customers, because he says if you look after the employees, they'll take care of the customers. Because if employees come to work feeling happy, motivated, etc. Okay. And then finally, at 4D, our key stakeholders are the shareholders. So do not invest in 4D unless you know that you want to come last. So whenever there's an issue that we have to sort out, our last thing will be, well, how does this benefit shareholders? Don't care. And I'm an investor in 4D. But the values in the fund, so I'm the same person, I'm the finance director of the fund. And what we do is we say, no, shareholders. Every single time it's about shareholders. Okay? You've got to work out what your values are. You will not do well in the business unless you find something that your opportunities and your capabilities match your values. So for example, real life example, chat boxes. I want to do a porn thing, right? And it would be really beneficial for me to have a chat box, because I think I get, because the problem is loads of people browse at my porn website, but no one's buying, nobody's downloading, right? They're not actually buying. I think if I had a chat box, it would help me identify those people most likely to buy certain porn products, right? Now, there's opportunity there, huge opportunity. You've certainly got the capabilities, but it might go directly against your values. So you would turn around and say, thanks but no thanks. As an example, I will not invest, and I'm a big liberal. I think everybody should do their own shit and I don't care, and it's no one's business. I personally will not invest in anything that is related to pornography, related to alcohol, related to drugs, even if it's legal or not. It's just not what I'm not making a statement, it's just not what I want to do. I'm not making a statement. So I used to run a website where we used to sell BB guns. And I remember once there was a mistake and we got some BB guns delivered to our office rather than the warehouse, and I saw the product. And within 24 hours, I was out of that business. They were too flipping realistic. I thought there was something else. I don't know if you've ever seen a BB gun. They're really realistic. And I said, I do not want to be in that business. I know it's perfectly legal and I'll be making money out of it. I don't want to be in that business. Okay, so you have to work out, and I'm not making judgments for you.
May I?
Please.
So when you're starting out and when you are tight in cash, so you compromise. So would you have made a decision if you were starting out on your business?
Yeah, no, I would have. With what I know now, yeah, I would have stuck to my guns. Don't compromise. You only have to compromise once. Winston Churchill had this famous dialogue with this lady in the House of Commons in the 1940s, and they used to famously argue all the time. And once Winston Churchill said something to her, and she said, "Winston, you're drunk." And he said, "Lady Boothroyd, you're ugly, and tomorrow I'll be sober." Yeah, and they had this all the time. And she said once, "Winston, if you were my husband, I'd put poison in your tea." And he replied, "Madam, if I was your husband, I'd drink it." Yeah? So they did this all the time. And once they had this famous exchange, and she accused him of lying about something, and he said, "If I gave you £1 million, would you sleep with me?" or something. And she said, "Might." And then he said, "What if I gave you 100? She said, "What do you think I am, a cheap prostitute?" And he said, "That we've established, now we're just negotiating over the price." Right? The point is, you can never compromise on values without paying a very heavy price. So you might decide, yes, I want to do that, and go for it. I won't judge you. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to judge you. You will judge yourself, and something will happen that will cause burnout, because once you've said yes, I'm addicted to sugar. Like most addicts, I can only say no to the first cookie. And whenever I go on training courses, I'm terrified, because every 2 hours on a training course, there's muffins and cookies. Every 2 hours. And I know that if I go on a training course and I start eating sugar, I'm then on this permanent 3-day cookie binge. You know what I mean? Because sugar dip, need more sugar dip. Whereas if I stay away from the sugar, I'm good. I can't say no to the second cookie, only the first. Same thing. You compromise on the first one, it becomes so much easier to say yes the second time, and even easier the third. By the fourth time, you don't even think about it. Eventually it will catch up with you. I'm not being a moralist. I love making money. Don't get me wrong. I love making money. I'm very, very, let's make money. I'm really into making money. I just think everything comes at price. And you have to work out for yourself what price you're willing to pay. I'm not willing to pay the price. Those BB guns, I wasn't willing to pay that price. And at the time, I was very, 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 very financially distressed. Very distressed. But I did not want the idea that I sold this to a kid, and the kid was shot by police because it looked like a real gun. I did not want that. People do, but Okay, so that's a very, very short distraction. So, hope that was useful though. So do think about this big time, because it will really help you again with your next 12 or 14 or 11 weeks program. Because if because this summarises the issues you've got. And then when you think about the certain opportunities, then you think about the capabilities, and you've got certain capabilities now, and you've got certain capabilities that you need to acquire to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. Then you've got to think, well, what resources do I need? That becomes your pitch. I have these opportunities which line up with my values, and I've got this credibility to be able to do it, but these are the capabilities I have, these are the capabilities I need to acquire, and I need your investment to acquire these capabilities. What I don't like investing in is, we've got these capabilities, and I need your money to match these capabilities with these opportunities. Market versus technology risk. Again, explain it in a different way. Okay, good. Slight distraction. Now back to who's your customer. So I need to know who your next 30 are. So economic buyers are those who actually sign checks. They're people who sign checks. So I'm doing this big thing called Mentor Camp on Monday. So Mentor Camp involves loads of mentors from all over the world coming to Charlottetown for the first time ever. Most of them first time. Some of them have never been to Canada, and a lot of them will be coming to Charlottetown for the very first time. And the beneficiaries are 7 companies from Atlantic Canada. 3 of them are local, and they are going to meet all of these mentors, and they're going to mentor them, they're going to get helped. I explain this for a reason. Who is my economic buyer? Can I have some water, please?
Yeah.
Where do I have water?
I got it. I got it.
So who's my economic buyer?
Like the city of Charlottetown?
The ACOA and the Innovation PEI. I haven't met ACOA. They're the ones signing the biggest check. I haven't met them. And that often happens in big sales. Probably happened with you that you won't meet a lot of the people who actually sign off right off. You might not meet people. If you sell to a big corporation, you won't meet the person who actually signs the check. Okay? So economic buyers have the power to say no, and yes, but they're the only ones who can say yes. Everyone else only has the ability to say yes. Say no. They don't have the ability to say yes. They can say yes, you need to speak to the next one. Yes, you need to speak to the next one. So that's the economic buyer. The technical buyers would be someone like Innovation PEI, who would say, Mentor Camp needs to be able to, so I can show you actually, it's all open, it's taxpayer money, so I'm happy to share it with you. They say you must have at least 7 international mentors, you must have at least 3 local companies, you must have, so they are technical buyers in that your solution must offer these benefits. Thank you so much, Patrick. Could feel my hydration levels going, woo. So, technical, so we get technical. Technical buyers, they can never say no. They can never say yes, but they can say no. Because they could have said, unless you meet this technical threshold, you'll come up with this all the time. Your software needs to be able to integrate with this, do this, do this, do this. They're not saying yes, here's the order. They are saying no because it didn't meet this requirement. So technical people are a bitch to deal with, but they're vital. They're vital. People often mistake economic and technical. If you're going to pitch to a technical buyer, use a technical pitch. They just want life to be easy. I need a seamless transition, I need downtime to be minimised, I need whatever. If you sell economic benefits to a technical buyer, there's a misalignment. It won't work. Who are the users of Mentor Camp? The 7 companies. They're the biggest beneficiaries, the 7 companies. Some of them I haven't met. They don't have the power to say yes or no, but they're the actual customers. But if I do a shit job, well not me, if the Mentor Camp experience is shit for them, that will feed back to the economic and technical for next year. A lot of you will have users of products that haven't paid for it. But, like the gamers. But your advertising revenue model, so the economic buyer are the brands, they don't get to meet you. They don't even know you exist. They don't even know that they place your ad in their games because they use a brokerage to do that. So it's all algorithms that run that. But if people stop using, if users stop playing the game, your advertising revenue just dries up. So it's And then finally, if you're doing a big sale, a really, really big sale to a big corporate, to a big university, big chemistry department, etc., to A6 or to Blue Nose Marathon, often you'd have a coach buyer. Somebody who knows the organisation you're trying to sell to, just likes what you're doing, thinks it's great, and just wants to help you. coach buyers are very, very important. My coach buyer, does anybody know a guy called Steve Nicole? Steve Nicole? So Steve Nicole, he is Island Capital Partners. He is from PEI. He has led the most successful ever healthcare IT exit in Canada, STI Technologies. So a lot of the Island Capital money is his personal money. He is also phenomenal. He's chairman of Blue Light, so everybody knows everybody. So he's also the chairman of Blue Light, so I get to work with him there. We've done loads of mentor camps together. So we've done mentor camps in Arkansas, Halifax, Cape Breton, Istanbul, Cape Town. We do it all over the world. And mentor camps is my thing that I've been doing once a year. It's just don't make a lot of money out of it, but it's just so much fun. Because I basically all my friends from all over the world to come, all expenses paid, and to deliver great value. So it's really good. But Steve Nicole in this instance was my coach buyer. He likes mentor camp, doesn't have a vested interest, no money, but he really thinks PEI would benefit. So the reason why mentor camp is taking place in PEI for the first time ever is because of Steve Nicole. So he was a coach buyer and he helped navigate. He said, well, you need to speak to a COA, you need to speak to this person at Innovation PEI, you need to speak to this person at Startup Zone will be the great proponent for this, etc., etc. So Startup Zone have done a lot of the work, obviously. A lot of the work on the format, the forms, the paperwork, etc. And the money will go from a COA to Startup Zone to me. Right? So is that a good illustration of the difference between, I'm just trying to give you a real life example of a real sale that's happening now where there are 4 different buyers. The thing you do with coach buyers, you never embarrass them. Do not make Steve Nicole look stupid, that will really backfire. Make sure he's always involved. So I've asked him to become the chair of the PEI Mentor Camp. All it means is him standing up on Sunday and Monday, just welcome everybody to PEI. I've explained who the user is. So the talk we're doing on Sunday here, you're the users. It's kind of free. It's $10. I'll talk to Steve. How many of you want to come and can come? Right. You should. I genuinely think you should. I think you'll meet some really interesting people. It's $10, but it's kind of like free. I'll just talk to him about just register.
No, I mean, we have a code for it. So
For free?
It's
Oh,
for
brilliant.
free.
So do come. So it's free. So you're the user buyers, but you're not paying me, but you're the user buyers. And if you really enjoy it, that creates momentum for me to do it next year bigger. Because I don't really need $10 from you guys. The event's costing $92,000. Me getting $30 from this room doesn't move the needle. So I don't care about money. But you're my user buyers. If you all have a shit time, you're going to think, that was a waste of Sunday. Whereas if you turn around and go, wow, that was brilliant, it creates momentum to do it again. I've explained who the technical buyer is, I've explained the economic. So that's it. So I need you all to understand clearly. And then when you're pitching, understand that you're pitching something different to each person. Why are they a customer? Lifetime value of a customer. So I would sometimes, one of the products I used to sell when I was financially in a really, really different place was, so this was about 11 years ago. I sold these toy helicopters and these toy remote control cars. We would just buy bucket loads from China, really, really cheap, and sell them in markets. And the lifetime value of a customer would be one transaction. So we would sell them hard. Absolutely, and sell them theatre. In a very English way, this was in England, so we just sell them theatre, and they would buy the product, and the lifetime value of a customer was that transaction. I don't want to build a relationship with them, I don't want them liking me, I don't want to, we don't want to see you again after this one-time deal. And that's how I negotiate. You've got certain customers that I've just said, like Steve Nicole, that you work out the lifetime value of that business relationship. There's a personal relationship, but there's a business relationship. The lifetime value of that business relationship is worth a lot of money. So how I behave with him, how I communicate, what I do, how I promise things, very, very important. Yeah? I'm still me, but I will treat him very differently because I recognize from a business point of view, there is a really substantial lifetime value. Okay, does that make sense? So your business will thrive if you do have a high cost of customer acquisition. Your business will only thrive if you have a really, really good lifetime value. One of the things you can do is think, well, actually, my lifetime value of the customer is pretty shit because after 3 years, 4 years, they've moved off the platform unless I create content and create this specialism and create this continuing professional education in chemistry, unless I create a magazine or a publication that professors contribute to So that's another way you can sell it in, that you create this really rich content that goes to chemistry grads.
But I see it a little differently.
Sorry?
I see it a little differently.
Okay.
So I see it as a professor who controls 500 undergrads, right? The professor is the high lifetime value acquisition for me, right? So if I can satisfy their requirements,
Yes.
and I'm providing value to the
Yes.
students are
Yes.
my users,
Yes.
they feed that back to the professor, and that's the person, that's my Steve Nicole,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I get 100% churn every
Yes.
year because all those students are gone, but there's another group coming in. But it's that professor that's the constant in that relationship.
Warren Buffett used to say the best smoke from a cigarette is from a cigarette that someone's just discarded and left behind, and there's still 2 or 3 puffs left. And you see people just getting those 2 or 3 puffs from somebody's thrown away. They'll pick them up, because it's free. You are discarding an incredibly valuable asset, and if you could somehow create content
Right.
and create something that kept them sticky
Right.
and kept them transitioning from a student plus offering, and the professors would also love it because you're still appealing to their ego by having all these professors in different places saying contribute to articles, tips on careers for grads, interview advice for chemistry grads, etc., etc., etc. Suddenly you've taken this asset which you've discarded, and you've turned it into something extraordinarily valuable. That's how you make money.
That's where I need more capabilities, though.
Yeah, but then, so the question, brilliant. So the question for you then is, what is that opportunity worth? And you might decide it's worth $250,000 a year, but the capabilities are going to cost $500,000 to acquire, and actually it's not really what I want to do. I have zero interest in building a career networking for chemistry student thing. But if it does chime with your values, if you think actually the capabilities are going to cost me $50,000, and the opportunity is worth 3, 4, 5 million per annum, because what you could always end up doing is you could end up selling one half of your business. You could end up having a networking platform for chemistry students or STEM students. That's one business, and another business is the business you actually do. This is a magic formula for a lot of you. So the ideal ratio is that 1/8 of, I don't know where the 1/8 comes from, but it seems to work. 1/8 of the lifetime value is what you can spend. So Amazon do this very well. Amazon say to their managers, you can do anything you want as long as you don't spend more than $30 at getting a new customer onto the Amazon platform. They've worked out the lifetime value of a customer is about $240 or something. So, have a think about that. Does that all make sense? We all good? Any questions? I know I've been going through this very, very rapidly. Very rapidly. I know, Nick, I know it's 3:30 and you said you had to go at 3:30, didn't you? So, no problem. So, if you do have to leave, feel free to leave. It's all good. And just now we're going to talk about pricing model, yes?
Can you go back one? Right. Okay.
So now we're talking about pricing models very, very quickly. Pricing models, everybody understands fixed. So you have a list price, something costs X, something costs Y, whatever. Sometimes the pricing is based on the actual features the product has. So when you think about Dell computers, you have the price is based on, well, if you want this, Apple products. Think about Apple products, well, the 512 memory one is slightly more expensive than 256 one, etc. So the pricing is based on product features. Then you have customer segment. Air Canada, it's called price discrimination. If you can somehow discriminate between customers, like they know that leisure customers, and the great thing about the reason why there's no leak in Air Canada, because one of the things people try to prevent is product leakage, and product leakage means going from one market to another market. So Apple are very wary. You know, you get student discounts if you buy an Apple and you're a student. They don't like that because products leak. I could ask a student here to go and buy me an Apple and get a 6%, 5%, which is why the discounts aren't that great. But with air travel, with hotels, with services like haircuts, etc., it's easy to do price discrimination because you have to show ID. I can't buy an Air Canada flight ticket and give it, even if it's internal and no passport's required, but I can't buy it and give it to someone else. So that makes price discrimination for travel very easy. So price discrimination relies on me being able to say, you're going to pay for more for your travel because you need, if you are buying a flight today for tomorrow, it means you really need to go. So I'm going to charge you as much as I can. If you're going to travel there and you're going to stay over the weekend, you're probably going to go, you're going on a holiday, so actually I have to charge you a lot less, etc. So I can discriminate. So that's customer segment, and then obviously volume. If you buy 10, I'll give you this price. If you buy 100, I'll give you a better price. Then there's dynamic negotiation. All the Indians in the room, we know what negotiation is. We don't, there's no such thing as a fixed price in India, is there? There's no such thing. Everything's up for negotiation. Everything. There was this shoe store chain called Bata, which started, and it was famous because they did fixed pricing. It was like, wow, you don't negotiate. It took away half the fun of it. But everything's a negotiation. Yield management. Airlines do this thing where they have this fixed asset, they have a flight, they need to make a certain amount of money, so they will manage the yield. So if you try to book a hotel room at the Delta tomorrow night, Saturday night, or Sunday night, no, Monday night. Good luck. Monday night, hotel rooms are now going for $411 at the Delta because I managed to get a really, really good deal on 76 nights. So we've got 76 nights booked at the Delta between all the people coming in for the number of nights coming. So what they've got is they've got a yield management issue now that they wanted to hit a certain target. Now they've below that, so they're just going to jack the price right up and only have people who really have to stay there. Real-time market, stock market, that's how that works, and auctions. And everybody knows about auctions. Anybody? Thank you. My name is still Permjot, and I'm still on Twitter, and that's still my Twitter handle. Comments, good comments, gratefully received. Negative comments, your user buyers don't really care. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed it. But if you didn't, I'm sure somebody from Propel will come and do a much better job.
We'll take your negative feedback. Yeah. The starter zone.
Oh, the starter zone.
If you have it, yeah.
If you have negative feedback.
Awesome, amazing. Well, thank you, Permjot. Really appreciate it.
Are there any questions? Any questions?